Jim, we've talked a lot about forgiveness, forgiving other people, forgiving ourselves. I had a conversation with a mom recently who has a child that is struggling from a disease that was no making of their own decision.
Yeah.
And in an honest conversation, mom says the person she's struggling the most with to forgive right now is God.
Sure.
Talk to us about how do you forgive God?
Well, I always start with, and this book, the Bible has plenty of references, like a lot, that God can handle it. He already knows our heart. And so we're down here thinking, I can't go and say this. By the way, as an honest parent, whether your kids are little, older, adults, or you have, like you and I have, grandchildren, is always, and today's the first day of the rest of your life, always create an environment that you can bring anything to daddy, mama, whoever, poppy, granddaddy for me. You can bring anything, and I will be a safe person to talk about that. That's good to model to our kids, and it models for them that that's where God is. God never has this sound effect. Breaking news. That never happens with God. He's not turning on the TV of the world going, can you believe that's happening down there? So if I come and say, God, I'm just going to be really honest. And when we confess, that Greek word in the New Testament means to say the same thing as. It's homologeo, to say, God, you already know the truth. I'm not good with you right now. Now, my heart is going to move toward putting my cards on the table and reconciling and eventually landing the plane that you are God and I am not, but I'm not there yet. Like talking with a good parent. So to go to God and say, I just want to say, Lord, why? Why would you allow this to happen? I've prayed many times. I wouldn't even jump to, this must be my thorn in the flesh. 3 times I besought the Lord. Is to say, I want to come and be honest with you, God, and say it out loud. Here are some things that I'm not happy with you about. So to start with, just be honest about what's going on before you go to the next step.
You know, I've often said, we all have something we believe.
Sure.
And for me personally, there's things I believe to be true about God. But when my dad died Christmas morning and my baseball dream died from a torn shoulder, it was the first time I had to figure out, what do I really believe and why?
And what a gift that is at a ground zero to go, okay, game's up. What do I really believe and why?
Yeah.
That's a sacred moment.
And until you wrestle through it, I don't know that your belief truly has roots to sustain all the future storms and challenges of life. So it's okay to wrestle.
Well, I am wrestling inside. I'm just being honest about it and putting my cards on the table.
Yeah.
I think God says, it's so good to see you show up. By the way, not a reference of pop culture to go do anything with. I do love it. Go watch the movie The Shack and read the book. Turn your theology, oh, God, this and that, to watch that when Mac's in the kitchen with Papa, who's there being, played by an African-American woman. He says, I'm just mad. And why would you bring me back to this place, to the shack? And Papa says, the father representing God says, because this is where you got stuck. And then says to Mac, I'm not who you think I am. That is one of the most beautiful scenes in the kitchen where people are getting honest with God. And no one in that movie version is saying, don't you ask that. He had to work through Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, Mac did in that story, to be able to say, okay, what Job did at the end of the book. Job was ready to take God on. The patience of Job wore off. My ears had only heard of you, God, but now my eyes see you. But he had to wrestle through, that's a good word, isn't it? Wrestle, that's what I call it. He had to wrestle through all this stuff before he could get and say, you're God and I'm not.
Oh, love it.